Surprise, homies. Just want to wish everyone a very happy new year. And this is completely unplanned because we are still on break. We will be back officially on January 13th. But last night I recorded this episode with my amazing wife and our wonderful friends, Steve and Becky. And I just couldn't wait to share. I wanted to do something on New Year's. So we are preemptively and surprisingly sharing this episode early. And we will be back on the 13th. Hope you had a safe and wonderful New Year, and hope you enjoy the episode. God bless, my friends. Hey everyone, this is Chris, and you're listening to One Cross Radio. And today we are joined by the always awesome Steve Lambert. Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Chris?
Doing all right. And we are
sometimes awesome Becky Lambert.
Well, I was about to introduce you. We are also joined by both of our absolutely incredible and wonderful wives, Becky and Jill.
Are you?
Yes.
Am I here?
Yes, you are.
Proven by the fact that she just asked that.
Exactly.
Was it?
And we are recording this at night. I think this is the first nighttime podcast I've done.
Oh, I know where this is going.
I don't know where this is going. How do you know where this is going? Oh, Steve. Ah, dang it, man.
Chris and Steve in the morning.
Nice.
And it's got to be Chris and Steve, not Steve and Chris.
Yeah, no, it's Chris and Steve. Wait, am I the Troy to your Abed?
No, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
We're not Steven and Chris. That's
I feel like you're definitely Troy if it's between the two.
Oh yeah. Wait,
Like,
you're
Hondo,
Troy?
Yeah,
I'm Abed?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Wait, which one
You
are you
think
more
you're
insulted
Troy?
by here?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really think I'm either of them.
I'm like, wait, is one of these an insult? Because I love both those characters.
I'm whoever Paget Brewster played. Who was she?
I can't remember her name.
Anyways.
In season 6. I like that season. I want to say Maggie, but that's not right. No.
Carry on.
Anyways, so tonight we are talking about a great many things, probably. So get ready for some sidetrack. But I think what we are trying to talk about for a bit is Star Wars. Now, there's been two debatably great additions to the Star Wars lore over the past while with
The Last Jedi.
I'm kicking you out of your house.
That
I'm kicking you out of your own home. With the Rise of Skywalker, and then on Disney Plus, in my opinion, very great show, The Mandalorian. So, Steve and Becky, tell us what you think about both of those things.
What do you think, Becky?
You go first. You've already expressed a shocking opinion to Chris.
Sure.
Okay.
I enjoyed The Mandalorian. I think that it was a fun show. I think we were talking about this before. It's just kind of a cool take on the classic Ronin / wandering gunslinger, spaghetti western / Japanese genre of the past. It kind of expanded the universe, had a lot of fun things to it. I very much enjoyed it overall. I think that the show itself in its execution was pretty mediocre. I think that most of the stories had rough writing in them and really two-dimensional characters, especially episodes 5 and 6, where he goes to Tatooine and then goes to the prison ship with the knockoff Suicide Squad characters. Those episodes I thought were really bad. I really liked the ending of it. I love Baby Yoda. I really liked IG-11. Is that the character's name?
Yeah.
Taika Waititi did an amazing job with that. He was the best part of the whole show, which is why I was sort of upset with the way this ended. But I liked it. I just didn't think it was amazing.
So
You were upset with how it ended?
Well, I think they killed off the two best characters of the whole show in the last 2 episodes. The I Have Spoken Ugnaught guy and
Nick Nolte.
Yeah, and the robot that is like the nurse assassin droid.
But they did it well, and I think what Star Wars has not been doing well in the last movie that came out is the permanence of death, and I think that's important for it to be like.
Yeah.
Those characters didn't have the dark side.
So
or the light side, because Luke Skywalker's not really dead either. He's a ghost that can still touch things and seems to be able to do everything he could do before.
Force ghosts can do that stuff, Steve. I mean, come on. When haven't they?
I've never seen a Force ghost grab a lightsaber
But you
before.
read about it.
No, I haven't.
I did.
Okay.
Force ghost, not Forest ghost.
Forrest Gump, yeah.
randomest
Boys is lying
crossover
in a box
ever.
of You never know what you're going to get, and that movie proved it.
So I gotta ask them, well, like, because I did not have the issues you had with the Mandalorian. I did, like, as you're saying, 2-dimensional characters. I'm like, fair, but is that inherently bad? I think you can.
Yeah.
I think you can do.
Jill, let's hear what you have to say about this.
Yes.
I'll kind
All
of
right.
I'll kind of disagree
Debate
though.
over.
Just 'cause-
main characters?
No, because I found him more developed and nuanced. But it's all good. Like, okay, I can point to a franchise we both enjoy. Nobody is going to accuse Fast and the Furious of having, like, 3-dimensional, like, well-developed characters. At this point, we know what they are. We know what they do.
Yeah, but-
they are flat, but they're fun.
But
And
imagine
in that
if they
flatness,
were
you could
three-dimensional.
exist.
Imagine if there was a story and it wasn't just like.
But
I don't think that,
they're-
but that couldn't exist the way it does if it was trying to be.
But
You
on
just
top
get the
of-
bad earlier movies
On
again.
top of being 2-dimensional, the characters weren't fun in the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Every single character in that break them out of the jail was over the top and dumb. Like, nobody made any sense in that. That whole crew was awful. When I said at the end they were dead, I was like, oh, come on, I'm going to watch them again sometime.
See, I did not have that issue with you. I knew, like, to me, I'm like, okay, they're pointing out that these are all bad people, so you want them to get their comeuppance. But then it also shows, like, Mando isn't just going to kill, when earlier he's like, I avoid killing
Sure.
unless it's necessary. So you want him to, but then there was also some amazing set pieces in that. The part where he's hunting down Bill Burr, like, in the as the lights are freaking flickering,
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
like,
it
oh
was
my
like a
gosh,
slasher
this is
movie.
awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
And that's, like, sometimes that's what I'm looking for. It doesn't always have to be, like, deep dive material.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be surface, and surface can be fun. It can be comforting.
Right. I just think that they could have, like, I just think the acting was bad for those characters, and the jock, like the young, cocky, wannabe bounty hunter, and the weird lady with the Three Stooges droids in Tatooine in the episode after that.
Oh, right, yeah.
I just thought the acting was bad. I thought, like, I don't know. I just wanted to see a little bit more in those characters. I thought the like episode that was a ripoff of the Seven Samurai / or homage maybe to the Seven Samurai / Magnificent Seven, you know what I'm talking about, where they go and they protect the village.
Yeah.
Like, that's a classic story that's been done. Bug's Life is another homage to that one.
Seven Samurai and A Bug's Life.
Well, it is, right? A Bug's Life is an homage to Seven Samurai.
No.
I'm not, and I just felt like that whole, like, take off the helmet and marry that beautiful girl. Like, it's just so, like, ham-fisted. Like, I don't know. Again, I did like the show. I did enjoy it.
No.
But I just think that there's so much ham-fisted means, like, it wasn't done well. Like, it just, like...
Well, yeah, because have you ever had a ham in your fist? It's friggin' awkward and weird.
Has your fist ever been hammy?
Well, yeah, after I've eaten a bunch of ham. It's got that weird ham slime on it. Like,
it's like our baby with very pudgy hands. She doesn't do anything well with her fingers. She's ham-fisted. It doesn't go
hey,
very
no,
well.
she grabs my beard very, very well.
She's getting really good at, like, picking up food and almost getting it into her mouth.
Especially if it's squishy.
Hey, you know what? She's probably, like, right along where I am. I still miss my mouth very frequently.
You have a beard to catch.
I gotta catch her, yeah.
Anyway, I mean, I don't want to disparage it completely. I did enjoy the show, and I thought that the I mentioned before, IG-11, I think is a great character. I think the best thing about the show for me was him. Even in the first episode, when I see the IG unit, like, going crazy, it's like, I've wanted to see this in live action since I played the Shadows of the Empire video game on N64, right? Like, I love that kind of thing.
And he had a sense of humor. Even before they reprogrammed him, he was funny.
Yeah, because Taika Waititi playing him, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, like, like that episode the last episode that he directed, where the two scout troopers are, like, you know, being goofy and then trying to shoot at the
Loved
can.
that scene.
It was so good, right?
I was like, never did I ever think I wanted a scene like this of just two stormtroopers having the most mundane conversation
and not being able to hit a target. And,
no, and, like, that's a great commentary on it. Now, as soon as they hit Baby Yoda, you're like, I want you to die times 5 somehow.
Well, you know the guy that hit him was Jason Sudeikis, right?
I didn't know that.
And so he's
now he definitely needs to.
an alumnus of the Second City comedy troupe, and so they actually posted on Twitter, the Second City does not condone Jason Sudeikis' hitting a Baby Yoda. Please respect our privacy during this difficult time. It it was funny. It was well done. There was a lot of things in it that were cool, right? Like the homages to the horrible holiday special were kind of neat. And,
loved those. Yeah. Loved those. I guess I don't know. I'm curious as to what your expectations were, just because
good acting and a good story.
I found I didn't have any issues with the story and the acting. I was like, I'm fine with all of this. I didn't find it bad. I mean, if you want to watch bad Star Wars acting, as much as I will say now, the prequels are better than the sequels. You watch the prequels for bad acting, or the atrocious holiday special,
or just Mark Hamill in the original trilogy is very good acting.
Poor right? Mark, he got better.
Luke Skywalker,
yeah, he got better. Anyways,
he was trying so hard. That poor little guy in that multi-million-dollar franchise.
Hey, I can defend people.
Yeah. No, I mean it's like it was a.
Did you feel like the Mandalorian was a good actor?
Facial
expressions wise.
Well, that's the other thing is like they had this big reveal of his face. And it was like, oh yeah, that's the face of the guy who plays him. That's Pedro Pascal looking bloody. Okay. What was the?
I really dug his performance in a lot of ways. It reminded me of Tom Hardy in almost any role, but I'll pinpoint it to Bane. Just because Hollywood has this fascination of covering Tom Hardy's face as much as possible. But, like, there was so much... I found there was a lot of...
What happens if you take off your mask? It would be painful.
For you. Like, but Tom Hardy acts his butt off, and it's, like, you only see half his face. Pedro Pascal, I thought, did a great job where his body language, like... There were certain moments where it would just be, like, little head turns, shoulder stuff. Like, the performance... he gave, especially from his physical performance, was great. Yeah. And then you don't need to see his face. I like that they did the tease earlier. I know you're like, well, it's all this and lame and blah, 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 but I was fine with it.
Thank you for summarizing my argument so respectfully and succinctly. I really appreciate that.
Blah, blah, blah.
I know you're like, what was lame, blah, blah, blah. I don't think I've ever felt so heard in my entire life. I really appreciate all that you have put into this conversation.
You did it so well. I didn't need to do it. Like, it's to me it was fine. So then when you get that moment, I'm like, oh, that's a creative way to show his face, because that's going to be a point of tension throughout the show, and just now it's done, and you don't need to do it, and then you can, but don't.
It felt like in Beauty and the Beast when the Beast turns into a human at the end, and you're like, oh, but I was used to the Beast.
I was also going to say I did not think he was a handsome dude when they revealed him. I'm like,
in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, I can't remember what the dude looked like in the live action one, but in the cartoon I was like, nope, that's not a handsome cartoon. Gaston, I almost called Jackson, was Jackson was much more handsome. Anyways,
which cartoon Disney character do you think is most handsome?
Oh, next podcast done. We're gonna rank them all.
Outstanding. Well,
Marian's the prettiest.
Well, we're here till midnight, so we've got a couple episodes, guys.
She's a fox.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, I like the show. I'm hoping that season 2 will adjust some of what I think were,
no.
And that's like a lot of these shows will have like the first, like the pilot of almost any sitcom is usually not the best episode.
Well, there's always growing pains. Yeah. I mean, I can. The only show I had ever say where I was like the first season was debatably the best is maybe Community. Community, I thought its first season was excellent, but most other shows, especially sci-fi shows, like friggin' look at Next Generation season 1, or don't. It's terrible. Or two is rough, but it starts getting better. Yeah. DS9, which is debatably the best Star Trek, season 1 was still rough.
Is it?
You just don't like DS9 though.
What's your favorite?
Next Generation. Well,
Voyager's
also very high.
It's so
it's so lame.
Little arms up.
The best part of this conversation is that you don't even know what DS9 stands for.
What? Just curious. What are your hopes out of season 2? And again, I'm sorry, I didn't try to belittle your opinion.
I was just laughing. I mean, just like everything that I've said. Like I just want a little bit tighter writing and characters and acting that's a little bit just better done. I really like my favorite comic. I think it's probably, obviously I haven't read every comic, but probably the best comic that's been consistently good over the past 30 years is one called Usagi Yojimbo, which is like it's a Ronin wandering samurai, although they're anthropomorphic animals. He's a rabbit
who have crossed over with the Ninja Turtles.
Yes, that's, you probably know if you've ever watched Ninja Turtles cartoons. It's just that episodic. Each almost every issue he's in a different. All they'll have like arcs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like he's wandering. He meets different people. He helps them. He has different adventures, and it can be done really well if it's well written and the characters are interesting. And that, I mean, obviously the comic acting doesn't matter, but I just don't think this lived up to what it could have been. And
That's fair.
I wanted something, again, not like a big world shattering. Emperor Palpatine is back from the dead. We have a new Death Star that can destroy multiple planets from across the universe. Like, I don't need anything like that again, but just execution of it, I'd like to see a little bit better.
That's fair. For those of you that didn't see, Becky just pointed her fingers like a gun. So if
When I said execution.
he said execution, so if Steve dies and I go, check into Becky.
If you die too?
If I die too, because now I'm naming her. Yeah, that's fair. I'm
sure she's going to kill us both and then let this podcast.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
My wife's not a murderer.
No. She is lovely.
Your wife, on the other hand.
You're amazing.
No comment.
Wait. Put me on the spot and everything. Yeah, I liked the show a lot. I hope they keep with the I like the slower or not slower. I like the less episode run because I found like the story fit 8 episodes. I can't accuse it of the issues I had with especially the later seasons of a number of the Marvel shows, where it's like you are 12 or 13 episodes and you could be done in 4 or 5.
Sure.
So I hope they keep that. I love that at the end of the last episode you got the Darksaber. That was pretty sweet. I was like, I did not think I'd get that in live action ever.
Well, that's
nerd point checked.
That was the sword they used to cut out of the. That I said was a vibroblade. I didn't know.
It's a black lightsaber.
It's a lightsaber that was created by a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I did think it looked like a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
When did being a Mandalorian turn into a cult and rather than
being a creed? It's
it was a cult.
You know what?
It is the way.
Like, it's something that I think they probably just did in this, but I'm fine with it. It's an explanation that works.
That after the Rebels show, the race kind of gets wiped out by the
I think so. Well, because also for the longest time, the only Mandalorians, or the last Mandalorian, was Boba Fett. And then it's like, well, actually it was Jango, because Boba's a clone. And then you're like, wait, so are all the clones Mandalorians? And then this gives it
Yeah, I do.
it gives it a different thing where I'm like, I'm on board. It's an interesting new direction with it.
Sure.
I'd actually love in the next season. I was still holding out hope that at the end of this season you'd get a tease for Boba Fett, because let's be real, that's what everybody still wants, even though now you've got your new character and all that.
Apparently, like, his helmet was being worn by one of the
helmet that looked at. There was so many rumors, and then the episode when you were at Tatooine, you're like, all right, where's Fett? He's gonna be here. You're on Tatooine.
Somebody came up with the idea. They never addressed who was that bent down next to the Melinda May from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., whoever she is in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was that maybe
Boba
Fett?
Well, there was that rumor. Like, in my head, the way I've pictured it, and I'd love it if it played out that, where it's like, if Boba Fett's a bounty hunter and a notorious one, like, why wouldn't there remnants, I can't words, of the Empire, like, if he's back, send him after him. And then you've got
him after him.
Send Fett after Mando. And then you've got, like, an interesting face-off.
Or lack thereof, because they were not.
Mando says that if he takes his helmet off, he's not a Mandalorian.
In front of a living person.
In front of a living person, which is why IG-11 could...
Did Boba Fett ever get his helmet off?
No.
Because the clones definitely didn't have helmets on, so I don't think they count as Mandalorian.
they also weren't thinking about this definition when they were doing all that stuff.
You also saw Jango Fett's face in the prequels and stuff like that. So obviously something's changed, or they just made this up for the show or whatever.
And it's something they can flesh out as it goes.
My question is, they can never eat at the same time. What happens if you're sick or like you have an itch on your nose? Like what? Like it seems impractical.
You can just reach up into the mask.
What if you have to sneeze?
Well, then you sneeze on the thing. It might have a guard. Look at all the armor they wear, dude. Like they're probably just really gross, stinky people.
They must be.
Like
they must be.
They would smell like a bantha.
So who do you think Baby Yoda is?
Just another one of Yoda's
Bob
species.
Iger, the CEO or whatever of Disney, has said his name's not Baby Yoda. We haven't revealed his name yet.
Well, yeah, no, but that's also like that's a given.
Well, yeah, it's not obviously like Yoda's baby.
Yoda's dead.
Yeah,
it's Yoda and Yaddle's son.
Like
Yaddle is another one from Yoda's race from the books and stuff.
She was in the Phantom Menace.
She was?
Yeah. You just see her on the council.
She's in the council.
She doesn't say anything.
Okay. I never noticed her, but
what was
Yoda with hair.
Oh, I've been playing Jedi Fallen Order because Jill got it for me for Christmas.
So you just think it's just another Yoda race character?
Yeah, why not? And there's enough speculation where it could be involved. Like online speculation has been like cloning and all that. And
well, they talked about gene casting in one of the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, and I really are you looking up Yaddle?
I am.
I've never noticed her before.
Yeah, no, she's there. I think she sits.
She looks older than Yoda.
She's uglier than Yoda.
Steve. She's doing the best she could.
It's just shocking.
He's always pictured them very beautiful. In his mind.
Is that your culture?
Yeah.
Females have to be more. Just kidding.
Sure, I shouldn't judge fictional culture.
Yeah, no, it's like to me.
I'm 900 years old. Look that good, I won't.
It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be any relation to Yoda. It's just the same species.
Okay.
Species powerful in the Force. We know nothing. It's like a clean slate. Because
you don't think it's like a clone of Yoda, or
they could go with it, and I'd be on board. But
because I don't think that whole race is Force sensitive, right?
Well, the two members that we've seen were both Jedi Masters, Yaddle and Yoda. And then we see this third one who's powerful in the Force. So maybe it's a species that has just this insane connection.
Maybe that's just what somebody looks like when they're really strong in the Force. They turn small and green.
And live 900 years?
And get very long ears.
Gotcha. And then also go from a good-looking puppet to a terrible-looking puppet when it's supposed to be younger and then CGI.
How far after Return of the Jedi is this taking place?
I think it's like 5 or 6 years. Okay. Like, it's really within that... I also had to explain to a certain brother-in-law of mine that Baby Yoda the Baby Yoda was in fact not Yoda.
Yeah, I
because he was like, so wait, how did Baby Yoda come? It's like this. Yoda's dead. This is not Yoda.
Yeah. I originally thought that maybe it would be like a
clone.
No, like a.
Did somebody say that?
Yeah,
it's been
my original thought was that maybe there was like a reincarnation thing that happened with their race, but then I realized that it's 50 years old, so that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
because Yoda hasn't been dead that long.
No,
in this time long. So.
Who was guarding Baby Yoda at the start?
Yeah, who are those people?
I don't know. They never explained.
Yeah, a lot of things they haven't really explained yet.
Because were they good or were they bad? Because neither good or
and
bad.
I don't know if this is just they hadn't thought about this because of the writing, or if this is going to show up later, but there seems to be 2 different factions that are after him. Some that want him dead and some that don't. Right? Because the IG-11, when he said, I have specific instructions to kill him, and he couldn't have been sent by the same people because Mando was told, we prefer him alive, but dead is okay if you can prove that you killed him. Right? So there seems to be more than one people that are after him.
I didn't find that. I just found, like, IG... Like they addressed before, like he's very violent. Like even though he was funny, he was like.
But he says
his whole thing was like
instructions were to kill it. Like so, like.
But then Manda pointed out like you don't have to.
Yeah.
But then IG goes slaughtering everybody, which was a great scene, by the way.
Right. But it just sort of seems like there's people that have specifically said that he needs to be dead, and people that have said
right.
they want him alive.
Right.
So,
But the IG droids, they addressed it, were like very violent droids.
yeah.
So it could just be like it's being like the death part. Okay, I can do alive, but if I kill it, I still get my.
That's not what he said. He said I have specific
Right.
orders to kill it.
All right.
So
They addressed him being part of the guild, so
yeah.
okay.
I mean, like, it's possible that there's just different people that are. And
Yeah.
I was just wondering about that, but anyway,
Because obviously the big bad guy that comes at the end also wanted.
once in a life, Gideon or whatever.
Who was a guy on Community? As soon as I saw him, I was like, no.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was Pierce's black brother.
Oh.
I can't remember the name.
Cool.
What's his name? This is gonna bother me.
I don't know.
All right, so let's talk about the other Star Wars thing that dropped recently, and of course, we were talking about the horrible holiday special. No, because you can find that on YouTube, and I truthfully don't recommend it. It is so bad
Why are we talking about this right now?
because it's bad.
I watched it recently.
I think it's funny.
I was joking. I was
Okay.
gonna guess that, but no.
Yeah, I watched it recently on YouTube for the first time and the last time, and I had to watch it like on 1.5 speed for most of it because it was
Yeah.
really bad. And the first 10 minutes, so there's like a scene where Han and Chewie are trying to get back to Chewie's family for Life Day,
And
and then it cuts to literally 10 minutes of Chewie's son, wife, and father talking to each other in
Wookiee.
with no subtitles.
yeah,
That's
no,
like
it's
10 minutes. Becky, we're recording this.
You can cut it out.
there's more thought in this in Becky doing this than there was in the holiday special. Let's-
Not to mention the virtual reality time with the father is.
yeah, no, it's
It is weird. It's
it's
really
truly
strange.
terrible.
It was trying to be like a variety show, but it wasn't funny. And
Well,
it wasn't. It was just really bad.
So I ended up going down the YouTube rabbit hole because I do, and apparently, like when earlier, like when it had been pitched before, Lucas had more of a hand in writing it, and it wasn't going to be that. There was a lot more of a story, and then the little bits of variety actually served a purpose to the story, but then it got left alone and then rewritten, and it became the abomination that it was. Harrison Ford is so much fun watching in that because you can tell how much he hates his life.
Have you seen him on Conan when he shows him a clip of it?
Yeah.
He's like, I've never seen it before. I was there. I don't need to see it again.
Yeah, it's so good.
But let's talk about Rise of
Yeah,
Skywalker.
nope, that's the one. So,
Skywalker has risen.
yep. I liked it. Yeah, no, I liked it.
It just occurred to me, why is it called that?
Because when she's on the ground and she goes, they're like, rise, 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 and at the end she chooses not to be a Palpatine but to be a Skywalker. This is obviously going to be lots of spoilers.
Oh,
See, I also thought it had to do with even like you could even go with the fact that Ben Solo, who is a Skywalker by blood, rose in the sense of like Kylo died, Ben came back.
But I mean,
So a bit of a deeper meaning, but
yeah,
also mostly Rey symbolically picking up the name Skywalker.
I think because Rey was supposed to be the main character, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I think Ben. I would have liked to have had more of him. Like, I think his character arc was really interesting. I mean, and I say that like I did like it, so I'm not gonna go down this, but like Rey didn't really have a character arc. She had like a character upward line.
Well, that's
You
been
know, like,
that's been the problem with and I've loved the performance. I've really enjoyed Daisy Ridley.
yeah.
That's been the problem of the character. But I found with this, like, that's almost been the problem of every character in the sequel trilogy. None of them have arcs or stories. Stuff just happens to them, and they just do things.
Yeah.
This one, I was like, I actually found I enjoyed the characters a lot more because they had good interplay, good conversations. Like, yeah, some of them are just trajectory upward, but
I don't want to go here right now, but I would argue that The Last Jedi had good character arcs for most of the characters.
I will fight you
Okay.
physically.
We've already talked about this, but I just think that they did have good character arcs. So anyway, we can move on.
No, especially after watching Knives Out, which
That's a different movie altogether.
it's a different movie altogether, but it's by director Rian Johnson.
Okay.
And I was at first not wanting to see it because I was like, that Last Jedi wound is still fresh years later. But then when we saw it, I loved it. It's a great movie. And I'd be really curious to see him do a Star Wars movie, but from the grounds up. Because when you look at so many of the issues of The Last Jedi, where it's like, I see promise, I see some good stuff, but it also threw away stuff from the beginning, and then they had to course correct in this one.
Yeah.
So it really sticks out like a sore thumb. Where if it could have been its own thing, then I probably enjoy it more.
Sure. And I think the Becky's looking up Knives Out. It's just pictures.
It's a great murder. It is a great murder mystery that I've been told by a bunch of people, like, his whole thing is subverting expectations,
and it does that.
Yeah.
You figure out the murder very quickly, and that's the whole point of a murder mystery. Let's figure out who did it. So then it's okay. We know who it is. Now we're following along to see if they get caught. And now we're following along because something else. So it works in that movie.
Yeah.
Well, and so going back to Star Wars.
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams, if you've ever watched any of his shows, they start off with, here's a bunch of mysteries to get you hooked. And then the middle is kind of like dragging its feet. What do we do with this? And then they have to kind of figure out how to wrap it up. And it's usually not wrapped up very
Lost.
well. Yeah, so J.J. Abrams was only involved in the pilot of Lost. And then it was Lindelof and Carlton Cuse that did the rest of it. But even Alias was similar to that. Like, kind of spun its wheels for a long time in the middle, and then the ending was like, all right, well, that was okay. And I feel like that's basically what happened with this trilogy, except that when Rian Johnson came in, he was like, no, I don't want to play this game. I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And so, like, JJ's like, here's a bunch of questions. And he made, like, The Force Awakens was a pilot episode of a TV show, which is what JJ does. And then Ryan was like, whatever you did, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to do my own thing. And then they're like, all right, JJ finishes off. And so this movie was him like, how do I do this? And he did a pretty good job. Like, it was someone explained it to me as it's the Fast and the Furious of Star Wars. Like, don't think about it too much, but it's like breakneck. Well, you love Fast and the Furious.
I do, but I wouldn't say I would not say it's Fast and the Furious in space.
So like,
I also heard people try to say that about Star Trek Beyond. I'm like, very different. The only commonality is the director and some action set pieces. And that
Star Trek Beyond was awful. But
Steve, we will fight.
You just like it because the Beastie Boys are in it and Idris Elba were in it.
I'm gonna sidetrack for a second. I like
Very
it.
Clearly, your friend.
I like it because to me, it is one of the best. Like, out of the current three, it is the most Trek. It actually has Trek stuff, deep cut Trek references, a captain's log that actually references a lot of stuff and is relevant to the story.
What do you mean?
Idris Elba,
deep cut Trek references. The other two were just a remake of The Wrath of Khan. How do you get more deep cut Trek references?
Something the original movies also struggled with. It had so much good stuff in it. I know you can boil it down to. I love me some Idris Elba.
They blew up the aliens by playing Beastie Boys.
Which worked. They explained it well. It's not like it's dumb. It works within the logic of the movie, dude. Yes, it did.
It was ridiculous.
No. See, this is where we'll just agree to disagree.
Back to
sorry.
Rise of Skywalker.
Sorry.
I agree with you, and I think your point of it was very dense.
Mm-hmm.
It was them trying to go back and do 3 movies worth in 1 movie.
Yeah.
Right? So it was, and which made it a plot of convenience.
Yeah.
It was, we fell in here. We found this, which is the one thing we need. We have the one person that can. And now we're here. And now we're here. There was no them leading the plot. It was them falling into what they needed to do, and just so quickly.
They dropped you into the middle of a story and then just did like MacGuffin chasing until the end of it, basically. Yeah.
And I get like with me, even though I recognize that, like, I don't know how you could have done this when you look at the last 2.
Sure, and I agree.
I'm not saying it's
no.
They did it as well as they possibly could, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it's because they had to go back. And,
Well, and going back to that Fast and the Furious comment, the reason I think I agree with that is because there is a lot about the actual way the story comes together that if you think about it, it's like, okay, well, that's kind of silly. Like, it doesn't actually make sense, which is very true in the Fast and the Furious. Like, he's in a red Ferrari in Siberia running away from a nuclear submarine shooting missiles at him, which was amazing.
You're already putting way too much thought into this.
But you just don't, like, you just check your brains and it was fun, right?
Yeah.
And Star Wars obviously wasn't that bad, but there was a lot of like, this doesn't really make sense, but okay, it was good.
Well,
but there was Force.
But right. But there just were so many scenes where it's like, how are you still alive? You're like running through the main Star Destroyer.
That bothered me.
Nobody can hit you. Like, you're just like killing stormtroopers left, right, and center, and then you're just fine. Until,
which I gotta say, First Order, apparently as terrible as they are, or the movies try to tell you they are because they tell and never show. aside from recreating the Empire, a lot less sexist than the Empire was. At least 50% of those stormtroopers who died were women.
Yeah. And none of them have British accents.
No, none of them.
All of them did, and they're multiracial. And
I found watching, because I've seen it 3 times, I found some of the stuff whereas before, I just found it made sense within the movie. Like, as we were saying, like, oh, it's the Force leading. I'm like, that lines up with everything Star Wars has ever presented. And especially with Finn. In Force Awakens, it was hinted at, like, he's Force sensitive.
Yeah.
But then Last Jedi, like it did with many things, never followed up. That's not what Rian Johnson wanted to tell.
Sure.
Wanted to take him to a stupid side planet and free some horses, but not really free them. Or some
learned to fight for what he loved instead of fighting against what he hated.
Which was stupid. Stuff and blah, 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 Steve. But then in this one, I'm like, okay, they're leaning on the convenience factor, but it works.
Sure.
I mean, with Palpatine, we just watched that video when it's like, well, you use the line. I'm like, but they also reference cloning, and that's all you need. Of course, I want more, but it makes sense.
The line meaning
the dark side of the Force's pathway to many abilities. Like we just watched,
some of which are considered unnatural.
Yeah.
Which is a quote from episode 3. That he says to
and in that movie, he's like, "Look, I worked with a master who learned how to survive death."
Yeah.
And then him later saying, like, "I've died before." I'm like, "I'm all in." And then they're speculating about the clone stuff. You don't need to explain that. Like, I'd love it, but it's also like there's an established stuff in Star Wars. I'm in.
Yeah.
I loved that Rey ended up being a Palpatine.
I think that makes sense of why her character was so strong.
Exactly.
Episodes, right?
Yeah.
First couple movies.
It adds that stuff, but then also it's like now. I know you saw other ones. I didn't. Most of the ones before Rian Johnson was like, it's nobody. All the theories I saw were a Skywalker, Obi-Wan's kid, or Qui-Gon's.
Becky said Yoda's kid.
What?
That would have been
But she didn't have the ears.
I would have been so on board for that.
She is Baby Yoda.
But then, in the movie when they did that, I was like, interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that.
And then as I was talking about, I loved seeing it the 3rd time just because my brother, who's a huge Star Wars fan, I'm curious what his reaction's going to be. So when they dropped the Palpatine bomb, you just see him shift in his seat like, what?
Did you see it coming?
No.
Even when she was like, "You don't know what's really true about her."
Well, when they did that, I was like, "Are they gonna say she's his kid?" Nah. And then when they did it, I was like, "Oh dang, son!"
No, but he's back, and she has to be someone.
Yeah.
So it's like as soon as it's like, he's the big bad. Yeah, this is what they're gonna do.
Right.
I thought he looked awesome, by the way.
And
the fact that like the strobe lights are flat, like lightning on his face all the time, this is so cool.
I loved his performance too. He's been great throughout all the movies, but it was especially nice to see him get to play Sinister while not being directed to ham it the hell up. Meow. Ugh.
That's a quote from episode 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's always been good and always committed, but it's just nice to see. I'm not trying to throw George Lucas under the bus. That poor man has been like, even though he's chilling in a jacuzzi full of gravy, like smoking $1,000 cigar bills. Like he's also like been something he created.
Cigar bills.
Yep. Nope. He's created stuff, Steve. Even though it's his career, like
he's a Scrooge McDuck vault.
He does. But at the same point, like this is something that he created that he loved, and I do feel bad for him.
Yeah. And he loved and he drove into the ground.
And then, anyways, but then like seeing JJ like showing a lot more restraint with Palpatine, I was like, I am in. I am always in for this guy. Yeah. And I love the idea of like, hold up, this is something new. It really does shake up as in a good way because Last Jedi tried to shake up, but in unsatisfying ways because it's like, hey, that stuff, don't mind it. Whereas this, you're like, wait, what? Yeah. When the heck did Palpatine have a kid? When did Palpatine have a wife or a mistress or something? Sure. Like, where was this for 6 movies?
It was Yaddle. Hence why Rey is Baby Yoda. And hence, it all comes together.
And hence why Yaddle went missing. Hence why Yaddle went missing.
Oh, explain.
This writes itself.
Star Wars explains.
Like, I love that. Just
someone's got a very beautiful person in their family somewhere along the way.
Oh, man. Yeah, just, like, I love that because I'm like, that's an interesting shakeup, and that now I want to know more. And I'm excited to see where Star Wars goes now, whereas before I was like, let's just get through this.
The problem with, well, there's multiple problems. I don't love The Last Jedi. I like it a lot better than you. I think it worked as a movie. I just think it wasn't very Star Wars. Like, it really, Rian Johnson wanted to do something different, and there was no plan for the trilogy.
No, and that's the trilogy's problem.
Yeah, the Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger and Disney should have had, like, this is what we're going for, and there just wasn't that, and Rian Johnson wanted to come and do something different, and I think what he did worked very largely, but it didn't work as the middle chapter in a Star Wars Skywalker saga. It did derail the franchise, but I also think the first one did. I think.
Oh yeah,
The Force Awakens was a rehash of A New Hope, as we've all said, that asked all these questions that there was no answer to, and I don't know. It just didn't set anything up in a way that was really helpful either. So I mean, the reason that I think I liked The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi so much was because I didn't like The Force Awakens. I knew this wasn't going to be what I wanted. I went to see it because it was Star Wars, and I was like, oh, I think that was a kind of a tightly written movie. I like the themes in it, and I don't like what they did with Luke Skywalker. I don't like that Leia Mary Poppins her way through space. Although for some reason Becky pointed out, I don't mind when Star-Lord does it in Guardians of the Galaxy, but it doesn't make sense when Leia does it. I don't know why. Yeah. So this whole trilogy has been a mess, and I think he did a pretty good job capping it off.
Yeah. Which is what, and I know you're not ready to say it, and like I didn't think I'd get to the point.
I'm not ready to say it. One day I'll know what you know.
One day, Steve. I feel like you'll get there. Like I feel like time has been kind to the prequels, and I really feel like this trilogy has made me kinder to the prequels. Because as much as the prequels have a bunch of flaws, what I can't take away from it is it did have a planned trajectory, a planned story from point A to point B.
That's because there
was you knew the ending. Yeah, you already knew the ending for that one.
But even
you knew where it had to end up, right? That's one of the major problems.
But okay, fine. Let's look at the original trilogy though. Like everything's still lined up. That's proper planning.
It was wonderful.
That's proper planning. The prequel trilogy, for all its flaws, even though, like, sure, it's got to get to this end point, it still had proper planning.
I think one of the biggest,
this didn't.
One of the biggest problems with the prequel trilogy is there were no surprises. Like, you're like, they show you Darth Sidious at the end of the Phantom Menace, and you're like, well, I know that's Palpatine. Like, they shouldn't have shown him that. Like, there's just all these certain things like. Like it's like you expect that we don't know what's going on with this, this movie at all.
See, I didn't have that problem because you knew who the Emperor was.
Yeah.
But it was at that point you're like, okay, how is he going to mess things up? Because you know that's what he's here for.
Yeah, he's going to use economics and trade embargoes.
Which you're telling me you weren't surprised by that, Steve?
I was in grade 8. When
you're telling me you weren't
happy to see it. I loved that movie when I saw it in theaters, and then a little bit later I was like, wait, no, that wasn't good at all.
You're telling me you weren't surprised about like a whole section about taxation on trade routes?
Yeah. No,
I didn't know I was getting that in Star Wars.
Yeah. I just think that they needed to make you guess more. They needed to that Palpatine becomes the Emperor and that he is a Sith, but make that connection. Like, how does this fit in? Like, you have Darth Maul. You don't need to show that he's being, he serves Palpatine. Like, make you ask the audience the question of how does he fit into this?
Fair.
And I don't know. Like, that was one of the problems with this
trilogy. They do have problems. To me, it's just I also think there's the benefit of the Clone Wars show as well that has answered a lot of the criticisms that the prequel era stuff had. And you can find better fan edit cuts of the prequels that make them better. Whereas I tried to watch a fan edit of The Last Jedi, but then it's like, okay, you cut out a lot of the stuff that I hate, but then it's just a movie that just randomly jumped from point A to point B. Like, wait a second, you guys were on the ship that you're not on anymore, that somebody drove into stuff, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't think you can judge a movie is better or worse basically because you can make better fan edits.
No, well, I'm not saying that's the sole thing.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
before we get to the... I kind of want to talk about ranking the movies a little bit. I know you did that with Mike recently, but...
I did, but I also haven't gotten the audio from it yet, and I did say I'd do that with you as well, so...
Okay. Like, what are some of the things that you really, really liked besides plot stuff about the Rise of Skywalker? Let's start with the women.
Yeah.
What were some of the things you liked?
Some of the things I liked. That's not plot related.
Well, like I love that Palpatine was in this and that Rey was not that kind of stuff. Blah 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 blah. It was lame. But like,
you got to throw in the hand motions as well.
C-3PO, I think, was one of the breakout,
amazing
parts of this movie. Hilarious.
I hate him.
In general,
always have.
I don't like him either, but like I think he was really.
I think they figured out how to use C-3PO because he was the butt of his own joke.
Yeah, you gotta wipe his mind.
Yeah.
That's how he was.
Yeah.
And what Bobo, whatever the little.
Boba Frick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boba Fett, whatever his name is.
Don't do that.
There's a guy who plays for the Blue Jays named Boba Fett, and I'm just like, I have no idea what we're talking about. Anyway, that's sidetrack. I thought those two characters are hilarious.
Yeah. No, what you mentioned before. I like how the actors played off each other. I think the banter was better. And then maybe the chemistry was better. Yeah, I liked the movie, but I liked it because of what came before it. Because what came before was so bad. So there's not a lot of like points in and of itself that I'm like, yeah, this is great, because everything has a little asterisk of, well, it's great for what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I like Kylo Ren's character, and I just enjoy the fact that he was redeemed at the end, and yeah, there's the cathartic scenes with his dad.
Mm.
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Chris has something to say about that.
I loved that scene. I know you and I talked about it over text, and there's speculation that maybe it would have been Leia originally. I thought that scene was great, and it almost had to be Han, just because, like Kylo, and I thought about it afterwards, and they had even pointed it out in The Last Jedi, where it's like, you're still conflicted, you're haunted by what you did, and Kylo's like, no, no, no. So then, as his mother sacrificed herself to reach him for a moment, and then Rey saved him, which you were questioning it, but then I'm also like, there's nothing to... They're hinting at dark side stuff, but she's also... They've shown her to be, like, always good no matter what. So then she saves him, and then that's his final moment where Kylo Ren dies, because they're recreating exact moments of dialogue from when he killed his dad, when, like, the face touch, everything. That, like, to have his father in a memory form, not a Force ghost, I thought was creative and brilliant. But then to have him forgive him, I was like, that's the capper. Not that Leia dying didn't affect him, because clearly it did. It was enough to distract him, make him drop, and he was whooping Rey in that fight. And I really like that, because they also, whenever they fought, Rey always had the upper hand, and you never knew why.
But now the upper hand was on the other foot.
Yes. Saddam. He's got this. He's winning this, and then that happens. Like, that has an impact. But then for it to be Han forgiving him, that's a huge thing. Now, I've got daddy issues, so it's always going to connect. The dad stuff's always going to connect with me. But I love that scene. Yeah. One of my favorites in the movie.
I thought it was good. I do think it should have been Leia. I think it was clear that it was supposed to be Leia, but obviously Carrie Fisher died, right?
Also, got to give them a huge amount of credit, because they didn't CG any of her stuff. Yeah. It was just repurposed footage that they had filmed and deleted stuff.
Yeah, like they didn't make a CG construct of her, but I'm pretty sure the last, like, her and Luke over Tatooine had some CG edits because she's wearing, like, the Princess Leia costume.
Right.
But yeah, I know what you're saying. I feel like, and again, who knows how much he even wanted to continue the stream that had been there, but it seemed like if you watch the 3 movies, his relationship with his mom, like, he was conflicted about killing his dad, but his relationship with his mom was different. Yeah. So that he couldn't kill her.
Yeah, that's fair.
Jedi,
that's fair.
And he wasn't sure how to face her. And that was part of what was holding him back. I think even Snoke talks about that with him in The Last Jedi. And so it feels like that conversation, if they could have had it with Leia, would have made more sense. But I agree. I do like the catharsis of the recreated like moment where he does, get forgiven by his dad.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Another moment I gotta say, like probably my favorite scene in the whole movie is also one that every time I've seen it since the first time I saw it, it's increasingly got me closer to tears. Like the third time I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna break down, and I don't want my family to see me cry. Like I don't care. You've seen me ugly cry. Like I didn't want my family to see it, or in a theater where it's like sit up seats and not lazy boy seats. Like when Chewie finds out Leia died.
Yeah.
Is rough, but so good. Yeah. Just like the poor dude just crumples and everything. Yeah. I'm just like, he's lost so much, Chewie.
I don't know if it was Poe or Finn, when they heard, they knew, like, oh no, Chewie. Like, I think they said, like, he's going to be the one that's really going to take this hard.
Well, yeah, they just suddenly turned, and the camera work was great because it's just, it follows like a concerned person in a conversation. Yeah. And it's just like him crumpling and everything. I was like, oh my gosh.
And it warmed my heart that he got the medal at the end.
I know.
That was like the most fan service thing you can get out of the whole thing.
That was the most fan service thing since Darth Vader slaughtered a bunch of rebels in the hallway. Yeah. Man, that was awesome. Yeah. Give me a whole movie of that.
I this is off topic, but I want them to
do that hallway scene, but for a whole movie, yes.
I want them to do a new re-release of the original trilogy, a remastering, getting rid of everything that George Lucas did in the ones that came out when I was a kid, that I grew up watching and loved at the time. And all I want to be different from the original cut is the scene between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Have you seen...
to be more like that?
Yeah.
And that when they blow up Alderaan, and to look more like it looks like when they destroy planets in these new movies.
Yeah.
And everything else should be the same.
Listener, that we're referring to is this excellent YouTube video. I'll try to find it to link it in the description, where someone did an amazing job of...
54, 56 or whatever it is?
Yeah, where it's the Vader Obi-Wan fight, but it's amazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, dude. Yeah. It's awesome.
Okay. Someone like deep faked
Cool.
Obi-Wan, and like they full on fought, and it's really good.
Yeah, like people are getting shoved against walls. It's not like you could say it's more in the lines of the prequels, but not as flippy.
Yeah.
Because at that point, Obi-Wan is like 99 years old or whatever the heck he is. Alec Guinness couldn't backflip.
He doesn't have the high ground.
He doesn't have the high ground. Man.
So I think the pitch meeting. Movies that I was just showing you guys earlier, Screen Rant does these movies that they pitch these movies to. Well, it's the same actor plays the screenwriter and the producer, and he pitches movies that will come out and makes fun of them. And it was in episode 3, the pitch meeting. They talked about how the fight's over because Obi-Wan Kenobi has the high ground, and I think the producer's like, didn't he jump over Darth Maul and wanted to kill him? No. Anyway.
Well, it's because he knows that Anakin couldn't do that. He's like, I'm going to kill you. I'm not going to make the mistake Maul made. Yeah. Which, you have Disney Plus, right?
Yes.
Are you aware that they further changed A New Hope?
Yeah, the McClunky thing?
Yeah, it's really stupid.
I probably wouldn't even have noticed, to be honest.
Oh, you would have, because of how stupid it is, Steve.
Okay. It's just like a dialogue that he yells out, right?
Yeah, but they
speaks a weird language.
They subtitle him the whole time. Yeah. And then it's the yes, I bet you have, which, as much as George had edited everything, I'm talking like I know him on a first name basis.
Good old George.
As much as good old Giorgio had edited, Jorge Lucas had edited everything, it still was like the yes, I bet you'll have, and then the shots, or just Han shooting first, because that's what really happened. Whereas this, now it's like the yes, I'll bet you have, and then it's Greedo doing an exact same shot, and then saying McClunky, but not subtitled, and you're just like, what?
So why does he say McClunky?
No idea. I think it's just the idea of he insulted him, like he said your mother in Greedo's language or something. But it's like it's not subtitled, so you're like, are you swearing at him? And it's really stupid. It's becoming a great in-joke when you just need to explain something. It's like, what? McClunky. Oh, okay. You know it's going to be a reference later. It's definitely a meme. But
so let's rank the Star Wars movies.
All right, and then I've got a follow-up question.
Oh, well, you can do that first.
Okay. follow up. What are you hoping for out of the franchise going forward, movies or shows?
Well, like, that'll never happen. I can't have dreams anymore.
No, not a conversation you have with Becky or I have with Jill.
Because here's what I really, really want. I want a movie.
What you really, really want? Yes.
I'll tell you what I want. What I really, really want.
So tell me what you want.
I want to. Okay. I really, really, really want to see because
whatever the heck that
means.
I
want to watch a movie about Luke, Han, and Leia and Chewie and Lando, I guess, that's set between the Return of the Jedi and the Force Awakens. You already have a recast for Lando and Han. I think Sebastian Stan would make a good recast. He looks like
he does.
Like Luke Skywalker. I don't know who you get for Leia. I'm sure you can find somebody. And I want to see a story that takes place between
Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Between those two. Like, when I came into the Star Wars trilogy, I wanted that they were the characters that I wanted to see, right? I like Rey and Poe and Finn and everyone else.
I like them in this movie.
But I think when I went to see The Force Awakens, it's like, oh, that wasn't Star Wars that I wanted to see at all, right? And I made peace with that and moved on. But I still really want to see that movie.
Yeah.
I would also love to see some like Old Republic, KOTOR kind of Knights of the Old Republic. That's what KOTOR stands for. Some movies I think would be really cool.
Yeah.
And also things like The Mandalorian that are smaller side things would be good too. Those are kind of what I would love to see.
Becky or Jill, do you guys have anything?
Yeah, I want Knights of the Old Republic. I want like full on Sith. Like if we're gonna do space opera, I want like full on, Sith versus Jedi. Do Revan, do Bane, like do someone.
You're in so far over your head right now, Becky.
Yeah, like I don't know. Or conversely, don't do the space opera. Do someone else. Do someone outside. Do something different. Do something original. Something that doesn't have the same expectations.
Yeah.
Because it'd be super cool to do, like to go back to the original crew because they're the crew that people love and that they want to follow. Yeah. But that's going to come with a whole lot of
baggage.
Yeah. Involved. So do something new. Do something different.
Star Wars already has baggage, right?
Yeah.
Like there hasn't been almost any movies that they've made that everyone's been like, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
Like
like Clone Wars, amazing.
Yeah.
Like they did I like the Jedi lore.
Sure.
So I would love a movie that dives into that, but I would probably be in the minority.
Hmm.
Becky, do you have any thoughts?
I think I've always struggled with the Star Wars idea, which is also in our society's idea of this balance between good and evil, and that we have to restore the balance. And I'm just like, no, nobody really means that. What we mean is, oh, there's evil. We need to get rid of it. We need to destroy it. We need to blow it up. We need to crush everything and crumble the temple. And I think it would be cool to kind of flesh out the fact that actually that's not what we mean when we talk about the Force. It seems to me like the Force is good. It's not a balance between good and evil. And that the Force awakens when there's evil. And it's not that... Yeah, I think it would be cool to kind of make that more black and white.
Yeah, and I don't... I think the prequels did a decent job, but then the Clone Wars show, and even this one fleshed out whenever it's bringing balance. It's not like there's too many Jedi, so here's some Sith. Yeah. The Clone Wars show, one of the things I loved about it, and I know my brother didn't but I'll be like, you're wrong, is it showed the Jedi weren't all that. Even though they were still supposed to be this great virtuous thing, they were stagnant, they were stuck, they weren't growing.
Yeah, which is what the movie should have been, right?
And they weren't doing what they should be doing, and then they were trying to do the right thing, but then wrapped up in the wrong thing. They got into the war, so then the dark side flourished. Yeah. Whereas in this one, at one point, I loved one thing I would have loved, and it would have been fan service, and I would not have cared, is when you got the voices, give me the Force Ghosts, show me friggin' Qui-Gon Jinn. I was like, Qui-Gon.
Show them all. That would have
been
super
all.
cool.
I know.
That would have been voices. Most of the guys' voices were.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, and Hayden was back, and I was like, I do kind of love that there's been within the fan community a bit of a redemption for Hayden, because he, again, not the greatest performances, but he's gone from now the majority of the fandom would love him to show back up, and I think there's room in the Obi-Wan show. They could do stuff where it's like the charred corpse ghost like just haunting him.
What about Jake Lloyd? Poor Jake Lloyd.
Poor guy. No, so
like the guy who played the kid,
actually,
Darth Vader in Episode 1, basically had his life destroyed by how much everyone hated him.
Before I get into the story stuff, what I would love to see is when stuff happens that we don't like, that we just be a little more constructive and less jerks. Like, I didn't like Rose. I was thrilled she was in it less, and I'm like, hey, she's still here, cool, even though it's a minute and 32 seconds. Like, it's still like, she did not deserve the bullying and everything she got. Yeah. Like, Daisy Ridley got so much crap thrown at her, where it's like, well, or Laura Dern, it's like, well, yeah, your character's written terribly, but that's not on you. Like, you're acting, you're doing a job. Like, leave these poor people alone.
I like that they also, in Force Awakens, they address the holdo maneuver. Like, well, that's a 1 in a million.
Yeah.
We can't do that again.
And then later, though, they show above Endor, like, a Star Destroyer ripped in half. So I'm like, did somebody friggin' do the holdo?
Yeah, I don't know what really happened there.
Yeah.
They took out the command ship and all the battle boat droids were broken.
Were you sad that so many stormtroopers died, especially when the movie made it very clear that they were just conscripted children from other planets?
No, because the movie did not do a good job of doing that.
It did. They were like, how are we going to man this huge fleet?
We'll
conscript them.
I think the difference in this though is they showed that some were willing to throw down and the others weren't. So then it's like,
the Republic didn't ask.
No.
They just destroyed all of them.
Yeah.
So sad.
No. I guess stuff I would hope out of it. One last thing I'll throw in is I love the Wedge cameo. Like when I saw it with you.
I only seen it once, so I didn't notice it.
Yeah, no, he was in the Falcon. Like, nice shooting, Lando.
Like immediately when he came on screen, I like looked over to you, and
I'm
you were just like so giddy
because I'm like, Wedge, he's back.
Is it actually Wedge or is it just?
Yeah, no, it's Wedge.
Okay, cool.
It's Wedge.
You know who Wedge Antilles is?
I do.
Because we read those books.
And so that actor is Ewan McGregor's uncle.
I knew that.
Which is awesome.
When we asked what you wanted, you should have said you wanted to see Thrawn in it. That would have made you sound really nerdy.
But then if you ask Thrawn fans, they are somewhat happy with how he was in Rebels. I didn't love the art style.
I haven't seen Rebels yet.
My phone is anticipating which Wedge I'm going to Google. Good job.
Okay, so out of stuff I'd love to see, I think this movie...
he was the one that turned to you and I was like, who is that? I recognize that face. And you didn't know who it was. But he's like this guy, but like with white hair now.
Older now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually excited where the movie ended off, because now I think you can do a continuation with these characters without it being wrapped up into the overall.
I don't think they're going to. I don't think Daisy Ridley wants to anymore.
She might not, but it's
going to be the whole next trilogy is going to be about Lando Calrissian and that girl that the ex-Star
Well, Jill was like,
I'm like, are they setting up that like she's going to be his dad, or like
she's going to be his dad,
vice versa? He's going to be her dad.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Modern family.
Because I'm like, what are they doing? Like, it was very intentional to put that in there. Like,
it was a weird.
What are they doing?
Like what? Yeah.
And
also,
I legit didn't have a problem with that. I was just like, all right, Lando's just gonna help her find his.
Kid, let's find out.
Because he's just like,
he's got old man. Go away.
I know. Yeah.
Lando's always smooth, whether or not he wants to be.
And also, there's all that stuff set up about Finn having the secret that he wanted to tell Rey, which was obviously that he's also Force sensitive.
Yeah.
Right? And where is that gonna they didn't address it at all in this movie.
No, and that's where I'm like, you know what? I want more with these characters because, again, now I'm at a point where I actually really enjoy these characters. Sure. So I'm like, yeah, of course I want more of them. And as long as
the last part of the third movie,
I know it took you there. It took you long enough, but now I'm like, dang, I do want more. So I probably won't happen, but I wouldn't mind a continuation. I know some people have said, like, you don't need to do trilogies anymore. Where it's like, look, do them if it makes sense. If you plan the bloody thing from the whole way through, then I'm all in.
Because they could just do what Marvel's done and do like a 22 episode.
Well, and Marvel's been my explanation to people now, because they're like, wait, does this mean there's no more Star Wars movies? I'm like, no, think of like all the Marvel movies building up to Infinity War and Endgame, this was Endgame. It's like, wait, what? There was no fist. I'm like, shut up. Like, going forward, this stuff happened, but it can take place just after. Right in the face. I'm so sorry. I talk with my arms.
Your elbows too. Yep.
So I wouldn't mind that. I'm definitely interested in a Knights of the Old Republic show or movies.
Why haven't they done that? Why haven't they?
So I do think it's because, like, partially anything they do that they bring in canon, if it's already been done, then they owe George Lucas more money.
Ah, damn it.
Yeah, seriously. That's
a terrible deal.
No, because it's stuff he created. So that's why also, like, they throw away the expanded universe. They can cherry pick, but then it's all stuff that they are creating. Ben Solo is their character.
Yeah.
As opposed to
not Jason Solo.
Yeah.
Not Jason Solo or Anakin Solo or Ben Skywalker.
Yeah, well, because like Jason Solo is the one that became the.
Oh, I know. And Anakin died and all that.
And Chewbacca had a moon crashed into him.
Yep. Which a lot of people had beef with. I didn't.
I've read it. I just
thought it was well done. Yeah. So.
Or Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Give me Darth Maul.
Give me Darth Maul.
Well, I kind of feel like he's going to be in the Obi-Wan show.
He's also in a tricky position now, because I know you haven't watched Rebels, but do you know of anything that happens in it?
I know. Well, I'm up to the part in the Clone Wars where he just is now starting a criminal empire. I know that he's in the criminal empire in the Clone Wars and at the end of the Solo movie, right? He's running the Black Sun or whatever it's called.
Okay, so then plug your or actually wait, if you listen to this episode. So something happens where we know how Maul's story ends. Like it's canon.
Yeah, but I don't accept it.
Legit.
So let's just do a movie.
Well, and that's the thing. As much as I want more Maul stuff, I'm just like, we're at this tricky point where unless they now throw out Rebels, it's like this is done.
But they could do stuff before the end of Rebels, right?
Pardon?
They could do stuff that happens before.
Oh yeah, they could. It's just that tricky part of, like, as you were saying earlier with the prequels, it's like, well, we know how this ends. Knowing how something ends can be tricky territory. Now, they pulled that off with Rogue One.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Where I was like,
where in the timeline is that then? Within Rebels.
Was Rogue One?
Yeah.
Rebels takes place like 4 or 5 years before A New Hope, and I think it ends like 3 or so years before A New Hope. And Rogue One takes place like anywhere from a week to 2 days before, or 20 minutes before A New Hope. So it's still been a couple of years.
Oh, no. I'm not. No, sorry, wrong one. Han Solo.
Oh, Solo. Solo's like a good, I don't know, 15, 20 years or so before A New Hope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it takes place over a large period of time because he's with the.
So then it's. But so then it's this tricky territory of, like, how are we going to do this story potentially where he runs into Obi-Wan, but then also gets into his Rebels starting position. So and that's the thing. I want more, but it's also tricky as we've gone to everything being so connected.
But they have whole teams of people that make sure that the canon is all together.
They do, and yet
why this trilogy is so baffling.
They do, and somehow one writer did 2 trilogies better than a writing room, Steve. Yeah. Oh boy.
I don't know. There are so many people who are like experts, like fans who are experts on Star. Like, hire them. Yes. They would love to do it, and they would be so good at it. And
seriously,
I'm pretty sure that everyone who works for the story group for Star Wars is a fan. Like,
I'm not sure. No, I'm just kidding. Debatably. Yeah. Okay. So I'd love to see a Knights of the Old Republic thing. That's one that's a huge fan demand. Obi-Wan would be great out of that, as much as I'd love to see a Maul interaction. Give me Qui-Gon in Jedi Ghost form. I don't care that he said he can't. Retcon that. It's easy somehow. But also hit, like, the idea of Obi-Wan kind of having PTSD based on what he had to do to Anakin, and then the fallout of Vader.
Yeah, it would
having
be nice
him become
to have
aware.
Some impact, like to have something that happened actually
and then
affect the people.
Something they did well in
like
Jessica.
Luke Skywalker giving up and living by himself for 30 years. Aha!
Again, I'm going to kick you out of your own home. No, and then in something they did well in Jessica Jones season 2 was have her kind of being haunted by what she did to Kilgrave. And then there was a great episode where she just kept hallucinating Kilgrave. So the idea of Obi-Wan being haunted by burnt to a crisp dark side Anakin is a very appealing story to me. I would love that. More stuff along the lines of like Rogue One, where it shows how.
Being recorded, Steve.
Can we take a candy out of a bag and you cracking it up?
Yeah, something like what I loved about Rogue One and the Cassian Andor show is I think it's going to show the shady stuff of like the rebellion had to do. Flipping Star Wars on its head a bit. I like that. Color me interested. But done well, friggin' unlike The Last Bloody Jedi. But then also, give me an anthology show. Like, where you can do an episode about how Palpatine ended up with a grandchild. Or you can do some of this...
I don't want to know that at all.
Okay.
Rated R.
Not actually rated R.
It's like
Not...
a rom-com. Love Actually.
Oh my, I would watch that.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Oh my gosh.
No, but okay. Not physically how, you monsters. Get that image out of your head. Hilarious as it is. And we're off the
that'd be too
rails.
funny. They just pick like a different genre for each movie they do. One's a rom-com, horror,
But like,
comedy.
you could fill in some of the story gaps, like that kind of thing, and then focus on a different period. I'd be all in for an anthology show. So I think Star Wars is in an interesting spot now, where it's like, hey, it doesn't just have to be Skywalker stuff going forward.
None of them could be science fiction.
Instead of space fantasy, as like the hardcore Trekkies try to argue.
Okay, we need to wrap this up soon. We're gonna run out of time on New Year's Eve.
No, we're not. All right.
I don't know how we're gonna do this with 4 people. Do you even have an opinion on which are the best movies?
Oh my gosh, I forgot we were doing that.
Okay.
Okay. I want to give. Well, what's number 1 for you?
Still, we're going best. Empire still for me.
The absolute best? What is it?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
I just said.
Empire. She said.
No, like what's mine?
What's yours? I don't know. I feel like you're gonna say Jedi.
I guess I have to.
Return of the Jedi is my favorite too.
Yeah, I know.
I think part of, and so this I think speaks to how hard it is to rank these movies, because I can't separate nostalgia from fact when it comes to especially the original trilogy.
Which fair.
The first movie I saw in the trilogy was Return of the Jedi, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life when I was like 6 years old, right?
Unblinking.
Yeah. And I
Which as soon as you digitally make them blink, sticks out like a sore thumb. I did not need to know they didn't blink before. The Ewoks. In future edits, they added them blinking. I'm like, I never noticed they didn't blink before. Sorry, please go on.
I don't mind the Ewoks. I think it's got like the coolest space battle, the coolest lightsaber fight, and the coolest ground fight at the same time. Like, I just love that movie. So that's number 1 for me. And I know it's usually people's least favorite of the original trilogy.
Which I really don't get. A New Hope is great, but to me, I'd put my number 3 of the original trilogy.
So whiny.
Yeah,
I can't get over that.
the Dashi Station, the power converter.
Well, that's the thing. Whenever people talk about
right.
Actually.
Whenever people talk about bad acting in the original trilogy, when they reference the scenes, 99% of the time it's something from A New Hope, and that's
but for good reason.
George Lucas is not the best director. He really isn't. Like, creating world building, creating an engaging story, like everything, awesome. I mean, directing, not so much.
He got the continuity right when, like, Anakin was super whiny.
Yeah.
Like, super whiny. So it's like, okay, family trait, I get it.
So you would go Empire.
I'd probably
Jedi New Hope.
Yeah. Or actually, it's I might do Rogue One.
No, before one of the original trilogies.
It's A New Hope and Rogue One are borderline interchangeable for me.
Wow.
Just because I loved Rogue One.
Me too.
And I went in not expecting to, because I'm like, how are you going to make me care about these characters that I know are going to die? And they did. Now, if you take away that friggin' Vader hallway sequence, that might be a big part of it, because that was amazing.
So for me, like I said, I I can't even look at the original trilogy at the same level as any of the other ones. And Rogue One is the only one that I think might be in the mix with that. But for me, it's like Return of the Jedi, A New Hope, and then I actually like Empire Strikes Back the least of the original three. Yeah, because it just doesn't end, right? Like, it has a cliffhanger into the Return of the Jedi. But anyway, and then there's like a solid line.
We'll agree to disagree.
I know, you're right. And I know that everyone likes Empire Strikes Back the best.
I'm with you.
Mostly, but that's my opinion. And then there's like a solid line that just is impenetrable, right? I just can't imagine a Star Wars movie being more enjoyable to me than those three. And then I put Rogue One after that line. And then there's a big gap.
Fair. I'd say for me, I think that line is, again, it's almost like day to day. I'm curious as to what my answer was when me and Mike did this, because I can't remember. But Rogue One and A New Hope are pretty interchangeable for me. I love them both very much. And then you've got that line, where as much as I have said now, there is stuff I can take and enjoy from the prequels and the sequels. There is that gulf.
So Rise of Skywalker is below the line for you?
Yeah, it's not on par with the original trilogy.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I just said there's a big gap, but I guess I would probably put Rise of Skywalker in the middle of that big gap. I wasn't really thinking about that.
Yeah. It's my next one.
Yeah. Okay, so Rise of Skywalker. After those four, you have Rise of Skywalker next.
Yeah.
And this is where we're going to start really differing from each other.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Because I would put The Last Jedi next.
Yeah. No.
And then I would put.
Are you also including Clone Wars? Because that is
No, we won't. Well, sure.
The movie.
The Clone Wars movie. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's bottom of the barrel. That is the worst Star Wars movie.
No, it's not.
It really is.
The holiday special is worse than the
That
Clone Wars
is a
movie.
TV special. That's not a movie.
It's an hour and a half long. It's a movie.
No.
And also the Ewok movies. There's 2 Ewok movies that are live action.
I
that
deliberately
I
haven't seen
sure
those.
Down below the Clone Wars movies.
The Clone Wars movie is... Anyways.
Anyway.
It's so much missed potential.
Yeah.
It has so much missed potential.
Yeah.
And it's a baby Jabba. Why have a baby Jabba when you could give us baby Yoda?
It's called Stinky.
Yeah, I know. And you give us that intro to Ahsoka? Ahsoka becomes an amazing character? And she's this really whiny brat? Okay, well, they're going for something.
So I would put Last Jedi, Solo, Force Awakens. Huge gap. Episode 3, Episode 1, Episode 2.
All right, yeah, no. I'm going to have to do this from the bottom up.
And then huge gap. Clone Wars, Holiday Special, and Ewok movies.
So I'm going to ignore the Ewok ones because I haven't seen them, but by everything I've heard, they're terrible. The Holiday Special is atrocious. I don't really include it, but if I am, it's the bottom. Then I go Clone Wars, and then into the movies proper, as much as they are. Attack of the Clones to me is probably the worst.
I agree.
As much as it did, as it is,
saying.
it's a lot. Memes have been so kind to those movies, though, because not a day goes by where you can't find some way to reference.
Oh man, it's so bad,
but so good. The memes have made me appreciate it. But yeah, Attack of the Clones is very inconsequential because it sets stuff up that in the first 10 minutes of Revenge of the Sith is cast aside.
Yeah. And just like we just talked about C-3PO being really funny in the Rise of Skywalker. He was horrible in the Attack of the Clones.
Let's be real though.
I'm quite beside myself.
The only
Rebel scum. Oh dear, was that me?
I think to be fair, Rise of Skywalker is the only time C-3PO has ever actually been funny.
Yeah, but he's not trying to be funny and awful in most of the other movies like he was.
From the prequels, he was.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking.
Like he wasn't trying to be funny in
Revenge of the Sith
or the first one, was he?
Maybe a little bit.
I don't know. About being naked.
But at that point, there was Jar Jar for all the bad comedy.
Yeah, that's true.
Again, poor Ahmed Best. All right, so then from Attack of the Clones, then for me it's The Last Jedi, then The Phantom Menace, then Revenge of the Sith. Although I can find a better cut of it, so I enjoy it more, and I can watch it and find a lot to enjoy, even the theatrical cut, where there's a lot of disappointment, but there's also a fantastic film score, some great, absolutely great lightsaber action. There's some stuff in there that I love. And I'll make fun of the movie, but while you're doing a bunch of flipsy-doos and all that, like, that lightsaber fight carried the emotion and weight throughout the whole thing.
The Mustafar one?
Yeah, even as they're like Tarzan swinging, I'm like, no, I'm still in. There's emotional weight to this.
I just felt like the dialogue was pretty bad in that part. But anyway,
fair.
I understand what you're saying.
But then I also be like, I can point to so much bad dialogue in these
It's
movies.
all bad dialogue.
Like,
It's
the best
definitely the best of the original. Of the prequels. I mean.
The best dialogue in any Star Wars movies came from Empire and Jedi, the ones that George Lucas had more drafts on.
Also, Revenge of the Sith also had to, "You're breaking my heart, Anakin."
Oh, I know. No,
I don't have am I the only one that does not have a problem with that line?
She died of a broken heart?
Oh, I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that line.
I don't think I would have had a problem with the line if it wasn't the performance behind the line. But that can go with so much of the stuff. Now, except for that, it's only because I'm so in love that you could put Idris Elba in that and I'd be like, I am not buying this. This is garbage.
You would buy it if it was Idris Elba.
It's Idris Elba. It's difficult not to buy what they're selling.
beating the clones with Beastie Boys.
Okay, he was on the other side. And, no, so, yeah, Revenge of the Sith, then The Force Awakens. Because, yeah, I know.
You like Force Awakens
really
better than Revenge of the Sith? I agree. I don't feel like you do.
Maybe. So the things I like about The Force Awakens have to do with, like, we're on sets again.
Yeah.
Because Revenge of the Sith, there's one in particular where you're like, oh my gosh, this is a set. Yeah. It's not just props and a green screen. It's
a part where they're actually over lava. That was so incredible.
When they're on the Tantive 4, I was like, hold up, it's a set. Or also when they pick up Yoda and Obi-Wan's talking to him walking down the hall. That's when you're like, it's a set, no green screen here. As much as The Force Awakens bothers me, I do enjoy like how much outdoors they are, how much practical effects they used and added the special effects to. There's stuff like that where I'm like, this is where it's better.
But technicalities aside, the actual story.
Okay, no, then Revenge of the Sith I enjoy more, story-wise.
I liked technicalities back again. Like I like that instead of being flippy ninjas, they had like broadsword fights with the lightsabers. I thought it was just kind of a cool way to do it.
It was, but the thing I found that I missed from the prequels in this one was the fights didn't have that first fight didn't have any emotion to it. Where from Empire on, there was some emotional undercurrent to a lightsaber fight. Even in Phantom Menace, which that lightsaber fight is amazing. It's all about like, holy crap, this. Like, we've got to fight this thing that we're surprised by. And the amazing score. I mean, the Yoda jumping around. And score was incredible, Steve. And Rise of Skywalker score, loved it. Okay, yeah, so probably Force Awakens, then Revenge of the Sith.
Flip-flop.
Then Solo. Where are we? Oh yeah, no, and now that's where we're at.
All the other.
Yeah, because
Skywalker in the original trilogy.
Yeah, Rogue One. Yeah, like Solo was harmless, and it's better than it has any right to be, considering all the trouble that it had. The fact that a salvageable movie came out of it and is still enjoyable. Yeah, I'm in.
I think harmless is a good way. Like it doesn't really add.
No, and it doesn't need to.
Yeah, but it's just fun.
Yeah.
I guess there are a lot of questions that nobody wanted to know the answers to.
Yep, no. And it also did try to make the dice a thing. Like, stop. Nobody cares about the dice in the Millennium Falcon that nobody noticed until you started pointing out was there because you're trying to make it a thing.
Yeah.
Whereas in the original trilogy, it's like, oh, who's that awesome background guy? We want to know more about him.
No, the dice.
And then you kill him terribly. No, now we want the dice? Stop trying to make the dice. Boba Fett.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. Stop trying to make the bloody dice thing.
Yeah, I remember watching that in the Last Jedi and being like, what is that?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. That's along with other things they need to stop trying to make a thing, like Jai Courtney. Stop trying to make Jai Courtney a thing.
They did a while ago.
I know. They finally figured out with Suicide Squad. He was awesome in that. Only one of the few only good things in that.
Well, this has been a talk.
Yep.
Star Wars. Star Wars.
Well, this has been for me a blast. I've been trying to get you on for a while, so I've loved that you were part of this, Becky.
You'll cut out all my parts.
No, I really won't.
Yeah, you will.
I've got nothing to edit.
Oh, there's stuff to edit.
No, there's not.
She don't want to be part of this podcast, but she had to study the Death Star plans.
Yeah.
And Becky, it's been great having you on.
Thanks.
And we should all do this again.
Better than I thought.
Yeah, no, it's conversations with microphones. And yeah, we should all definitely do this again soon. Woo! All right, well, dear listener, thank you for listening. We hope you have a wonderful and safe New Year's, and God bless, my friends. Take care. Pew pew. Peace.